Hello and good morning, everybody. Welcome to the day 2 of Eventrepreneur Live. We're about to start this session on technology for health and wellness. My name is Clara. I will be the host of this stage for today. So how is everybody feeling on day 2? Yay! Awesome. Hopefully we'll have more people joining in for this wonderful session. So we've got Jason with us. Jason is author, speaker, entrepreneur, best-selling author, I should say. So join me in welcoming Jason on the stage.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to also start by a quick poll. We will be using Slido throughout the day on this stage. So if you can just jump on, get on your phone, go to slido.com. There's an event code ETL18, and you will see it right here as well. So if we can start with a quick poll, just to get your insight on if we need technology in health, since we will be talking about technology for health and wellness. And without further ado, I'm passing the stage to Jason.
Take that mic. Off to you. Well done. All right. Oh, that's loud. Didn't expect that, I'm not going to lie. What does the headsets do? So if you need to hear me better, put on the headset. Also makes you look like a DJ, and DJs can save your lives. We're talking about technology and health. And 2 days ago, Adam Perry, the founder of today's event, called me up and said, I need you to do a talk on tech and health. My first thing was, when is it? Do I have 30 days? Do I have 90 days? Is it for next year's ETL? And he said, no, it's in 24 hours. If you know the great speaker Roosevelt, who became the President of America, he said, if you want me to speak for 30 minutes, give me 30 days. If you want me to speak for 15 minutes, give me 15 days. If you need me to speak for an hour, I'm here now. I could just talk to you quite easily about tech. Tech and health, a lot harder. Tech and health in a short period of time, a lot harder. And this subject is huge. I mean, absolutely gigantic. And I started thinking, firstly, why me? Why does he want me to do it? I'm a friend. That's probably a good reason. I'll probably say yes because I am a friend. But then I started thinking about the fact that I have got health issues. I have brain damage. I have an autoimmune disease. I have multiple sclerosis, making it difficult sometimes to move, sometimes to speak, sometimes to think, sometimes to breathe. I get confused easily. I lose balance at times. There's a range of issues that come from having an autoimmune disease. I started thinking about the wellness section. I don't meditate that often, but I do meditate. I think-itate. I take a problem and I think about it, and I try and work out how best to solve it, and I tell my friends about this, and Adam and I have talked about this quite often. I remembered that I own a cosmetic technology company that looks at health through technology, and we have 29 locations around the world. So there's that connection. And then I thought about the fact that I just do a shitload of research if you ask me to be a speaker. And that's probably why he wanted me to talk about a subject so big as health and tech, because it is gigantic. So what I'm going to try and do today is I'm just going to talk through some of the foundings, or some of the findings with some of the founders that I've spoken to. And I've been lucky enough in the last 48 hours, I spoke to Samsung, I spoke to Alphabet, which is part of Google, I spoke to the NHS, I spoke to Vitality, I spoke to Bupa, I spoke to someone from LG, I spoke to someone from Apple, I spoke to Tanya Gooding, who's an author who wrote this book about digital wellness called Switch Off. I managed to speak to several journalists in the space. I spoke to someone from CES. And I just try to make as many notes as possible, and I'm going to kind of try and go through that with you today. But we have Slido, so if you've got ideas or questions that you'd like me to kind of steer towards, please feel free to use it. It's pretty simple. I thought I'd start by getting you involved in the actual conversation. I do a show called Not Another Crypto Show, and it's about future technology. It's about blockchain and crypto. And we played this game called Coin or Con. And the idea is it a real thing, or is it made up? Is it science fiction or science fact? So I'm going to talk about 5 things right now that are either science fiction or science fact. And thanks to Slido, you'll be able to work out if it's real or if I'm absolutely Bangladeshing, that's not a real word, the one with the game that you make up things. Boulder Dash. Thank you very much, Kevin Jackson. First one is, do we have the next? Thank you. You know you're a good speaker when the person doing the tech just stares up at you. Thank you very much. Nanobot immune system. Those of you that are slightly older might have seen a film many, many years ago with Dennis Quaid called Inner Space, where they came up with this technology that they could inject straight into our system that would work with our immune system, that would slowly run its way through, find the exact problem, and shoot a laser, which was brand new back in those days, and solve it. It wouldn't damage any of the other immune system. It would just fix the one situation. It was tiny. There was a little human in it, which was Dennis Quaid. You saw it. It's a good film. Those that haven't seen it, Google it. It's probably on Netflix. And Meg Ryan. Really, really good performance by Meg Ryan. But it was this concept of, could we take something so small that it could go in the bloodstream that was indetectable, but could send messages to the outside world about what was going on inside of you? And the immune system is massive. Obviously, it's number one because I care about it. I have a failing immune system. I have an immune system that attacks itself. It eats my central nervous system and then begins to eat my spinal column. That's pretty impressive. So if half of you in the room think it's true, oh, okay, we've lost someone, so good thinking. 60% think it's true, 40% think it's false. Last chance. You can call a friend. I'm kidding, you can't call a friend. We're back. Seriously, make up your mind. You guys must be in events. It is 100% true. We have created three things. We've created a tiny pill that has a small, small chip in it, the size of a micro slice of a rice kernel. Once it's digested, it sends a message to an app that says exactly what's going on with the new immune system, and then it sends another message to say that there is something wrong, that something needs to be done. This is something brand new and incredibly exciting, and was first spoken about at CES recently in Vegas, where health was one of the most spoken about pieces within the tech landscape. Number two, printable body parts. We all know 3D printing. We know it works, we know it's out there. People are creating things all the time. There's paperweights, there's ashtrays. It's like your niece or your nephew that can't really sculpt, so makes something really ugly and gives it to you and says, I made this with my hands. That's basically, oh, wow, that's impressive. Can we create body parts using 3D scanners? Oh. And when I say body parts, I'm not talking, and this might affect your answer, I'm not talking about an arm, I'm not talking about a leg, which is pretty simple, it's a fixed structure. I'm talking about a heart, a lung, a kidney, functional pieces of human body parts. Oh, good. Managed to convince some people, I like that. We are, in fact, doing it. It was recently passed by the FDA. When we talk about health and tech, the FDA keeps popping its ugly head. The FDA tells every innovator, every startup, every entrepreneur, back up. This is important stuff. This isn't like creating an app that finds you a cab or gets someone to iron your shirts. Typical tech in health takes 1 to 7 years to be passed by the FDA. When I started my tech company in 2012, I was very lucky. I had some really big players on my side, and they pushed the FDA for what they were creating. And the FDA came back 9 months later, it was 9.5 months later, and said, okay, the cause of damage is minimal, the cause of upside is up, we'll sign it off. As we speak, between tech and health, they're trying to create an intermediary, kind of a TSA. You know when you get to the airport and someone pre-checks you in and you're all sorted and you go on through and it's really simple? They're trying to create that for health. They're trying to find a way that we can go to this TSA of health and tech and say, this is my idea, this is how it works, this is why it works, this is why it's needed, sign me up before I even start. And if that happens, it changes the entire landscape. Then we've got cash. Then we've got more sort of pull as opposed to push, which is what we're currently getting. So yes, it's true. We've done a heart, we've done a lung, we've done a kidney. What we can't do is the immune system. What we can't do is the blood circulation system. The more technical, we seem to be slightly behind, but we'll have this within the next 2 years. Number 3. You can't say false now, I just told you the answer. Blood filtration. This is the most crazy thing. The concept is simple. Small, little nano machines, much like the first one, sent into the system. It goes its way through. It finds where the blood circulation is breaking down. It sends messages back to the home office, in this case, the doctors and medical staff, who say, we've worked out where it's going wrong. They create what looks like the bottom of your computer, motherboard. They create a motherboard, which is then inserted into your system and begins to create the blood filtration system. I've done a good job here. It's true. They started work on it do you want to change quickly? They started working on it 4 years ago. And when they started, everyone said it could not be done. It was impossible. The word impossible came up with every single person I spoke to in tech and health. They said the first thing we hear is impossible. And the biggest problem is, the true biggest problem isn't regulation. It's not what do we do with your data. It's trying to get people to understand it's improbable, not impossible. It can't be thought of right now with today's tech, but it can be thought of in time. It's just further down the line. Number 4, the head transplant. Now, I was talking to people about this today on the way here, and I was asking people on the bus and on the tube, and I was saying, is it possible for us to have a head transplant? And the answers were ridiculous. In 100 years, in 1,000 years, maybe, when we worked out how to go to Mars, maybe when we go to Uranus. That was a guy in Soho. I don't want to talk about that conversation. 80% say false, 20% say true. Who thinks true, by the way, by show of hands, old school? 33% of you, but not a single hand. Lady in the back, anyone else? Okay, you don't have to put your hand up, totally fine. It is in fact true, and it was done 100 years ago. They took a head off of a dog and put another head on that dog. The dog lived for 4 hours. This is 100 years ago. This is before telephones. This is before computers. This is before Tinder and Grindr. This is way back in the day. And they did it. And they've done it again recently with rats, with mice. They're about to do the very first human ever, next year, June, a little Russian gentleman who unfortunately is slowly shrinking and dying, so his only chance of life will be to have a head transplant onto a healthy body that won't be shrinking and slowly dying. There's 100 doctors and 100 nurses who will be needed for 24 solid hours to get everything running quick enough. But we've proven the science. We've proven it can be done. The only question is, can we keep them alive for long periods of time? So all you false people, improbable, not impossible. In fact, 100% true and kind of old technology. Number 5. Holographic body scans. Now, those people that watch Star Trek, you know what a hologram is. Those people that have walked around here have probably seen a hologram. It's 3-dimensional. You can kind of look at it. You can walk around it. You can see different spaces. The concept is dead simple. The average body scan is gray. It's in gray scale, which A, is the most boring scale for the eye to the brain. In fact, anyone wants to go on a diet or really do well with food, look at food through a gray scale on your phone. Your brain will say, don't care. You really want that ice cream? It's multicolored. The brain's getting all excited. Neurons are firing off. You look through your phone, grayscale. The stomach says, it's not that impressive. In the grayscale of a typical body scan, you can't see depth. You can't see dimension. You can't work out exactly where the problem is. A hologram would solve. I'm doing a very, very bad job here. A hologram would solve that. You'd be able to look at it and work out the depth of a problem. You'd be able to work out where to go in. You wouldn't have to do invasive treatments like cutting an entire stomach up to find one small issue within the bowels. A hologram body scan is the most excited thing that companies right now are working on because it changes the game completely. To create an entire human being out of me that they can walk around, they can put their hand in, they can move things accordingly, they can see it in color scale, which excites the brain, which makes it exciting, which gamifies medicine. This is something they're working hard on and is 100% true. And they've already created one for the heart, because it's only got 4 ventricles, the stomach, and the intestines, which closes us off. There's a lot of talk right now, in fact, in today's paper, and those that read the Metro will know, about social media, about the feed, about how it's eating us up, it's taking away from socialization, which is interesting because anyone over 80, there's only a 20% population, 20% of the populace of over 80-year-old people actually work with tech. They've got issues with it, of course. It's hard to work a cell phone, a tablet. They can't work out what is Skype and what is a doctor's visit through a telemedicine, which is a big thing right now in the US. So Samsung took the time to look at this. And they worked out there were 49 technical variations that affected the average elderly person that made them want to take that iPad and kick it out the room. Slido socks, for those that were supporting the brand. So they said, why? Why can't we make this easier? Tablets are cheap, hardware's easy. It helps them, it keeps them mobile. If they're on social media, they get to talk to other like-minded people from the same era or generation. We can create movement opportunities. We can gamify the ability to go from here to there. We can set puzzles that will help them with their mindfulness or with using their mind every single day. They resent it out to the same market, the same 163 elderly people over the age of 80, and they got an 80% increase in adoption of the technology. So technology wasn't to blame. Social media wasn't to blame. It was merely the application of tech to an audience base that needed to move around and be re-looked at. A couple of days ago, something gigantic happened in tech, and I was very, very excited when I heard this on the phone, because I had never heard of it. It didn't come up on my feed, wasn't on Instagram Live, no one of my friends told me about it, but Amazon patented the very first voice tech solution that when it listens to you, will listen if you cough, or if you sneeze, or if you're scratching yourself, and it will say, would you like me to go to your Amazon account and send you some cough syrup? Would you like me to get something, because I can hear you scratching, maybe you need a lotion, maybe you've got a mosquito bite. That is gigantic, and they have patented it, so it is done. Alexa is listening, and she's listening to your health. Great Ormond Street Hospital, right here in London, has decided they will go ahead with robots, with AI, with face recognition. So when you come in, it'll say, hi, Jason, Allan, Scott, welcome to the NHS. We know that you have this condition, and today you're going to be seeing a neurologist, and an MS nurse, and a pharmacologist who's going to talk to you about the drugs that you take every day to suppress your immune system. But if Alexa is already working out how to make money when it listens to a sniffle, then surely the NHS won't take long to realize if they look at our face and our face recognition system, they'll know when we're sad, they'll know when we're irritated, they'll know when we're depressed, and they'll be able to say to us, can we talk about a counseling service? Can we start talking to you about depression? Can we talk to you about guidance and counseling? Can we talk to you about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder? That jump is not that large. In 2015, 1.4 million people had a wearable device. 1.4. In 2016, 3.8 million people had a wearable device. And everyone said, wearables are it. But let's be honest, wearables are expensive. Wearables cost too much. It's difficult to implement. It's telling us a million things. My wearable, I have no notifications. All it does, it buzzes and it says, move. Because I sit between 6 and 10 hours a day, writing books, interviewing people, trying to find out how to fix business models. So it reminds me, move, get up and move. Something so small as prompting movement is a reason for me to buy it. But that's going to change. Because the truth is, the doctor we all have, and I don't have it on me, is your mobile phone. Because through Amazon, you will tell Amazon things you don't tell your doctor. You'll order that cream from your holiday in Ibiza you don't want to tell your friends. You will take the time to write in your notes or on WhatsApp issues about your mental health to close friends that you would never say to your close friends if they were face-to-face. The UK has the highest male suicide at the moment in the whole of Europe. 1 in 4. 1 in 4 will think about it. Why? Because we don't talk about it. Because we ask the question once, how are you feeling? Or hiya, and in that we kind of work out that it's hi and how are you? And my answer is very rarely, I've had a really bad morning, I'm going through a tough time. But it's more, hiya, back. Or in my case, howdy. So tech can help. Push-pull, we talked about it. Every single technology in the world has push-pull. The closest thing to this, to health and tech, is probably electric cars and petrol. And let's be honest, none of us are getting electric cars because we think they're cool. They're silent, they're ugly, they're expensive, but regulation is saying, actually, you're going to need one because it's going to be cheaper, because there are benefits to using it, because it helps something. But there's a lot of push on electric cars. Had a great talk with someone from Toyota who's pushing mobility very, very hard. Their whole plan is this movement is more important than anything. That right now you are sitting on probably what is going to kill you in 20 to 30 years. This will kill more people in the world than any other instrument outside of the gun in history. Because we sedentary lifestyle. We'll sit between 6 and 11 hours, which contributes to 14 cases of death, according to the NHS. 14. Recently, there was a huge, can't think of a good word, I've got a Yiddish expression in my head, but that's not going to help you. There's a huge commotion in the world of law because someone that sent a DNA testing to find out if they were Irish, Norwegian, German, they're always Irish and German, I always find that quite bizarre. It came back that someone in their family had murdered someone 7 years before and died. They had taken that piece of information and passed it on to solve a case. Now, if they can do that with a piece of me that I sent in to find out where I come from, then the question of data and data protection is more important than ever because it lends the question of what are they doing with all this data? Vitality has this incredible thing where they came up with a reward system in 2008 to get us to be more healthy. Didn't really work. It was based on an annual plan. In 2015, they changed it. They created weekly rewards, challenges, little circles that you could fill out, shareables. The opportunity to say to my friend, let's gamify this. I'm healthy right now. I have 6 circles on my phone. How many circles do you have? Apple has joined on this whole play. But what are they doing with all that data? We currently worked out, according to 2 people I spoke to at Alphabet, which is part of Google, that we use 4% of all the data we get. If you could imagine a hose pipe from a fireman, and he's shooting out this incredible stream, and some person is sitting there saying, I'm thirsty with their mouth open, that's what it's like right now. There's too much data. And I asked every single one of them the same question. How does it work? You're finding out where I've walked, how I've been, when did I take an Uber, how long I sat down, when I ate, thanks to MyFitnessPal, how long I slept, thanks to Sleepio, how often I moved, thanks to Garmin, the ring devices that are working out my heart rate, the new EKG on the Apple Watch 4. What are you doing with all that? And they said, at the moment, nothing. Because they don't believe wearables is the answer. They don't believe your phone is the final answer. They see it like an electric smart car that starts off by saying, please get me checked out. Please get an MOT. Please check the oil system. That before you're in an accident, presses the stop for you. And they're going to integrate that into autonomous cars, smart homes. When we arrive and we touch the handle, it'll work out how hot our hands are. It'll base on that with the environment outside and say, that heat on that hand is far too warm, given the temperature. So Nest inside the house will be adjusted, making it cooler. At the same time, a message will go to Alexa, and Alexa will say, hey, how was your trip? And you'll suddenly feel at ease in your well-being and mental state. You'll say, actually, it was a bit of a nightmare. I got really hot and sweaty on the tube because they keep the heat up even when it's cold. And Alexa will send a message saying, they're okay. But this idea that everything will be connected, that we're about to step into probably the concept at least, that every single thing we touch, play with, will have the opportunity to record, to intervene, to engage, will change every single piece of kit we touch. The 2 things stopping that are us. If I tell you how you can send an email faster, if I tell you how to find your soulmate quicker, if I explain to you that there's a new piece of tech that every celebrity you like or endorse is wearing, you will probably jump over and get it. But if I tell you that simply standing 4 hours a day will do more good for you than sitting, you're probably not going to stand. Because that pull, that idea of looking after thyself, isn't that big yet. The next big thing is the incredible philosopher Copernicus, who said, as a matter of fact, the world does revolve around me. Everything right now, as the world stands, is about you. It's thread dressing you. If you don't want email, you want you-mail. You want to know that it's about you, for you, by people who are like you. And unless tech slightly changes that to address issues that are only related to you, it'll make a gigantic difference about how fast we adopt the technology that it's on its way. That brings me to time. So if you have any questions, this is your time to use Slido. Please note, no slides were used. There was no PowerPoint presentation. My theory is this. A picture tells 1,000 words. I can speak at least 10,000 words in 3 different languages. And I'm absolutely jealous for your attention, so I'm not going to give it to a screen. Until now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jason. That was, how does the future sound? Promising, no? For our well-being?
Slightly scary.
I think it's actually promising for wellbeing, isn't it?
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, we've got questions in Slido for you, 2 actually, if we can go to questions. The first one was, can you think of a way to apply these technologies in the event industry at all?
Oh my gosh. There's a million ways to apply this tech to our industry. We talked about how fast, on my phone calls, we talked about how fast a pandemic occurs from an epidemic. So something as small as the flu. You're in the office, someone comes in, you're like, oh, keep that away from me. And then you share a fridge or a coffee mug or a table or a desk. And all of a sudden you're picking it up and you've got it and you pass that on. Well, think about this environment, which is an ecosystem for filth and germs. Don't touch any of my stuff that's sitting on that table. So how would the events use it? It would use it from the moment you step in. We'd get a body scan. And instead of working out if we have a bomb in our bag or a knife because of the problems we got in London, it'll work out how hot we are. It'll work out if we've brought the flu from Angola or West Africa. And it would immediately say, please don't go to this event. Please step out. At the same time, it'll be able to work out our mood according to our body mechanics. Are we hunched over? Are we looking down? It'll then send a message to our phones, our watches, or whatever we're using to interact with the audience and say something like, would you like to talk to someone? Would you like to meet the organizer? And this will give the organizer a chance, much like in clubs where you have a sober room, to have a counseling room. To be able to separate someone and say, are you okay? Do you need to talk to anyone? Can we personally help you make more out of this event and get you home? So how health will affect us? It'll affect us on our mindset. It'll affect us on our actual physical health by pre-warning, pre-screening, and then doing something about it.
Thank you for that. And second question, don't you think that people will be able to choose what data they want to follow?
No, because 2 years ago, we answered the question, if you're an Aries, answer these 6 questions. What's your mother's maiden name? When were you born? What's your pet's first name? And before you knew it, you were handing over your password to your HSBC account just to find out if your star sign matched your personality. We give up data because we don't really give a shite. We think we do, we talk about it, these big ideas, but we don't really care. Most of us haven't had a bad example of where data has been used against us. We like it when Amazon says, you read this book, read this book. We love it when Netflix says, you enjoyed Orange is the New Black, you're gonna love RuPaul's Drag Race. It's never happened to me, but it could. It's a future possibility.
And we've got more questions coming in. What are your thoughts on how crucial gamification is to adoption of health tech?
It's gigantic. Gamification, not just because the gaming is currently 88%, according to yesterday's figures, of things that work are gamified, but because it makes it fun. And because a lot of the time, if I quote Mary Poppins, you know, what is the Mary Poppins? Honey makes the medicine go down. If it's sweet, if full of sugar, thank you, sugar makes the medicine go down. If it's sweet, if it's easy, we'll adopt it. Most of us didn't jump on the iPhone revolution because we liked the iPhone. I mean, the first phones were these massive bricks and bags. We did it because it was easy. It was easy to call home. It was easy to call a friend. It was easy to have protection. But after a while, everything was easy. So they had to go another step. So what did? They gamified it. I'm on my MyFitnessPal, and I'm not just tracking my macros and my calories, but I'm also looking at what my friends are doing, and can I do better? For Sober October, we were working out which one of us drank, which one of us didn't drink, which one of us went to gym, which one of us didn't go to gym. So by gamifying, you find a way to take your audience and slipstream them into your technology, into your concept, into your pathway. So gamification is essential to adoption because it's what will get us excited going forward.
And that's all we have time for, I'm afraid.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm sure you're happy to stick around if anybody wants to ask some
Yeah,
question
absolutely.
afterwards.
Thank you, everyone, for coming down. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.